I can still feel the weight of that envelope in my hand, the rough grain of the stationery as I turned it over and over on the kitchen table. It was a Friday morning, the sun just hitting the edge of the maple tree outside, and I'd poured my coffee, light with 2 sugars, and sat down to start the weekend's emails. That's when I saw it. Dad's handwriting, precise and angular, larger than usual. My heart slowed as I slit the seal. Inside was a single sheet, folded once and creased neatly. Don't even try to come to the family reunion. We are cutting ties. Dad, no love you at the bottom. No, your mom and I. Just Dad. Like a judge delivering a verdict. I felt the room tilt. The Ben & Jerry's pint in the freezer suddenly seemed pointless. The weekend plans I'd penciled in, hiking with friends, brunch at my favorite cafe, vanished. Family reunion 3 days away, at Uncle Sal's lake house, a decades-long tradition I'd always loved, despite the occasional bickering and Aunt Georgina's passive-aggressive salad critiques. This year, I'd been looking forward to showing off my new job promotion, catching up with cousins I hadn't seen since last summer, and maybe, in my optimistic mind, patching things up with Dad over a late-night campfire and marshmallows. But this letter, no invitation, no phone call, just exile. I stared at the paper, my coffee growing cold. Then my thumb tapped Dad's name in my contacts. No, Dad, I'd saved him as Pops, after years of inside jokes. I scrolled to my group chat, Reunion 2025, where 20 of us had been coordinating potluck assignments all week. I typed a quick note. Me, hey everyone, change of plans. I just got this letter from my dad. I'm not going. If anyone needs to shift food contributions, let me know. Within seconds, the chat exploded with supportive emojis, offers to pick up my desserts, and an urgent, what happened? But Dad's words loomed larger than their kindness, so instead of explaining, I backed out. I sighed, folded the letter, and tucked it into my laptop bag. The rest of Friday blurred into work, forced concentration on code reviews and team meetings, though my brain kept replaying the sentence, we are cutting ties. At 5 p.m., I shut my laptop, put on my running shoes, and tried to clear my head with 5 miles on the trail, breathing pine-tinged air. By the time I got home, the twilight sky was smudged lavender. I dialed my best friend, Marisol. Hey, you okay? She asked, as soon as I answered. I could hear her 2-year-old son in the background, nursery rhymes drifting through. Got a letter from Dad. He said we're cutting ties. Like over text, no call. Her voice softened. That's harsh. Want to talk about it? I slumped onto the couch, running a hand through my hair. I don't even know why. I haven't been there for the past 2 reunions because of work and vacations abroad. But I've always called, sent gift, FaceTimed. I thought we were good. She sighed. Family can be weird, but you're not the first to be exiled. What matters is what you do next. I rubbed my temples. Yeah, but it hurts. I know, she said. But don't let this define you. Do you want to do something about it? Confront him? Write back? I hesitated. The logical part of me knew confrontation might only make it worse. The impulsive part wanted to storm to their suburban mansion at dusk and demand an explanation, but neither felt right. So I asked her quietly, what would you do? There was a pause. Then Marisol said, softly, I'd make him wish he hadn't pushed you away. Her words clicked something into place. I said, I'm going to do something, but not like storming over there. She chuckled. Okay, whatever you do, I support you. And hey, if you need to crash here while everyone's at Sal's, you know where to find me. I smiled despite the ache. Thanks, Mari. Night. Saturday dawned bright and chilly. My phone buzzed with photos from the reunion setup, cousins hanging lanterns, uncles lugging coolers, the lake glass sparkle of early morning. I stared out my apartment window, a feeling I recognized from childhood, being left behind, flooding back. I closed the window and got to work. I pulled open a blank document and typed asterisk, asterisk, to Dad, Mom, and family. I received your letter. I will respect your wish and not attend the reunion. I'm sorry I haven't been present enough, and I wish things were different. I hope someday you'll reconsider. Until then, I want you to know one thing. I'm proud of who I've become, and nothing can undo that. Love. Your daughter's son. I stared at it, but couldn't bring myself to send it. It felt too final, too vulnerable. I needed something more transformative. I glanced at my phone, social media notifications. Then I opened an old note on my to-dos. Research bloodhound rescue in Montana. Last year, on a whim, I'd sponsored the adoption of a retired bloodhound named Gus, who'd become, in my mind, the best of detective dogs, with his floppy ears and profound nose. I laughed softly at the memory. Gus had found my lost earring in the park after I donated to the rescue. Maybe I needed a bit of Gus's nose to track down what was behind Dad's letter. Within an hour, I drafted emails to our family therapist, whom I'd never actually used, the genealogist I'd met researching our ancestry, and Dad's old college friend, Uncle Marcus, who still lived in town. And I made one more call, surprising myself as I dialed Dad's number. It rang twice. My stomach twisted. Then voicemail. "Hey Dad, it's me. Got your letter? I'm not coming to Sal's, but I'd like to understand what prompted this. Give me a call?" I hung up, closed my eyes, and exhaled. That felt both cowardly and brave. I sent the message, then turned to my computer to work on my next plan. By Sunday, I had my simple phone call. I phoned Uncle Marcus. He answered on the first ring. "Hey kiddo, glad to hear from you." His voice crackled with warmth. "Heard you're not coming to the reunion? Something about cutting ties?" I swallowed. "I got a letter from Dad, said not to come and they're cutting ties. No explanation." He sighed. "I'm sorry. Your dad's been on edge since the job move last winter. They're worried you're drifting too far. You know, tech conferences in Europe, concerts, art shows. They miss the you who stayed closer to home." I frowned. "They're upset because I live my life?" "Not just that," Marcus said. "It's fear. Your mom's health scare 6 months ago shook them. They felt you weren't there when things got real, so they pushed back, too hard." My chest tightened. "So this is fear, not anger." "Partly. Dad's proud but scared. He didn't handle it well. But they love you. Always will. You need to show them you still care, even if you choose a different path." I ran my hand over the letter's words. "Okay, but I need them to understand me too." Marcus chuckled. "That's your mission. Maybe write a letter. Invite them to dinner? Call? Don't let their fear cut you off." I nodded, tears prickling. "Thanks, Marcus." He gave me a small laugh. "Anytime. And hey, take Gus for a walk if you need some detective time." That afternoon, I sat at my kitchen table, facing out at my small balcony garden. On the table lay 2 items, Dad's harsh letter and my blank page. I picked up a pen and wrote the first line. "Dear Mom and Dad, I got your letter. I'm sorry you feel I've pushed away. I want you to know I'm still your child, wherever I am." I paused, breathed, and kept writing, about Mom's laughter in the hallway, Dad's stern but loving advice on bike mechanics, the time they surprised me at school with a telescope. I wrote about the woman I'd become, traveling the world, forging my career, finding joy in late-night art studios, but always missing home. I invited them to dinner on Saturday. No crowds, just us. I ended, "I love you. I hope we can have this one evening together. Love, your child." I slipped the letter into an envelope and addressed it, "Mom and Dad," no scrawled from line. Then I placed it on the kitchen counter, ready for Monday morning's mail. Monday, I drove past the lake house exit, heart pounding, imagining my family laughing under the pines without me. In the mailbox outside my apartment, I slipped in both letters, my reply and an RSVP. Count me in to my own invitation. I pushed down fear and doubt. That evening, I sat by my front door, waiting. At 6:30, I nearly gave up, but at 6:45, headlights swept across the linoleum hallway as Dad's Volvo rolled into the spot outside. He got out first, stolid, silent, followed by Mom, her shoulders trembling. They knocked, and I opened the door, letter in hand, heart on my sleeve. Mom flung her arms around me. Dad stood back, eyes glistening, and I held up my letter. "Read it?" He nodded, voice thick. "I'm sorry." I reacted out of fear, not love. He stepped forward, took my hand. "I'm proud of you, wherever you are." I exhaled, tears spilling. "I love you." As they entered, I realized the reunion at the lake could wait. This was the gathering that mattered, a dinner table of 3, finally rediscovered. And as I led them inside, I knew this story, of exile, texted mandate, and brave reply, had only just turned its first page. That evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops and the sky softened into lavender, I led Mom and Dad into my apartment. The aroma of roasted vegetables and garlic butter shrimp wafted from the oven. Simple dishes, but made with all my care. I slipped their coats onto the rack by the door and offered each a glass of chilled sparkling water. The apartment felt both familiar and new, colored by my late-night art experiments and travel souvenirs. Dad settled onto the couch, hands clasped, as though bracing himself. Mom perched on a stool in the kitchenette, running a hand through her hair. I placed bowls of salad, plates of shrimp, and a loaf of crusty bread in the center of the small dining table, then took my seat opposite Dad. We sat in a circle too small to hide in, Dad cleared his throat. Jane, he began, voice low. I meant what I said. I was afraid. Your mom, she got sick, and we realized how fragile life is. We wanted you close, by the lake house, by our side, so we reacted without thinking. I swallowed. I know. And I'm sorry I didn't call more often after you went into the hospital. I thought my texts and calls would be enough, but they weren't. Mom reached across and squeezed my hand. We missed you. We missed us, the family we were. Dad nodded, gaze intense. Cutting ties was stupid. I apologize. He glanced at the letter on the table, still in its crisp, white envelope. Your response that took guts. I exhaled and offered a small smile. Sometimes it takes distance to see what matters. Mom dabbed her eyes. Let's not let fear drive us apart again. I tilted my glass to her. To not letting fear drive us apart. Dad lifted his. To family, we toasted, the soft clink of glass echoing in the quiet room. Then the first real smile spread across Dad's face in months, and Mom laughed, a laugh that felt like sunlight flooding a long, darkened room. Over dinner, we talked in easy spurts, weaving in and out of light and serious topics. Dad recounted his early days at his law practice, the long nights he'd once shrugged off as just part of the job. Mom teased him about the old leather jacket he still refused to throw away. I described my new card designs, a birthday line with playful hand-lettered typography, inspired by retro neon signs, a Get Well series with watercolor succulents, and soothing affirmations. Dad asked me to show him the rough sketches I kept pinned above my desk. I jumped up, retrieved my sketchbook from the living area, and flipped through pages of ink outlines. A fox curled in a ball, a row of sewing needles like wildflowers, the oak tree print I'd given him. He examined each, nodding. You have real talent, he said softly. I never gave you enough credit. Mom wrapped her arms around my neck. We're catching up now. By the time we reached dessert, Mom's homemade lemon bars, topped with a dusting of powdered sugar, the old walls had crumbled enough for us to share a few family stories we'd neglected. Dad confessed he had felt guilty when I moved out of state for that summer tech conference. Mom admitted she'd been lonely after her surgery and too proud to ask me to come home. I listened, tears brimming, remembering how much I'd missed them too. Instead of racing off to my own apartment, I scooted over and curled onto the couch, Dad pulling me gently into his side, Mom leaning in as though we'd grown into a single warm knot of family. After dinner, we watched old home video clips on my laptop, a scratched tape of my 7th birthday, me tearing into presents, Dad's booming voice singing happy birthday, Mom filming with a grin. We erupted with laughter when the video stuttered on a squirrel nibbling nuts just outside the window. Mom wiped tears from her eyes. We should resurrect these traditions, she said. Next year, we hold the reunion at this apartment. Dad groaned playfully. Your place, it'll be chaos. I laughed. Imagine the recipe potluck in my tiny kitchen. Mom's eyes sparkled. We'll make it work. Everyone will squeeze in. Dad looked down at me, voice thick. We'll be there, no letter required. I nodded, overwhelmed. No letter. Over the next few days, we rebuilt our connection, brick by brick. I set up a shared chat thread, family ties, and began posting daily prompts. What's one thing you're grateful for today? Post a photo of your current view. Dad posted a picture of his morning coffee on the back porch. Mom shared a bouquet she'd arranged from her garden. I sent a snapshot of my latest card design drying on the table. When our reunion year roll call came up on the calendar, Dad, who'd long ago deleted my events, sent a calendar invite. Subject Family Reunion 2025. At Jane's Loft date. Saturday, June 15th location. Jane's Place details. Potluck lake house slideshow, late night campfire on the balcony. I accepted with a heart emoji. I could almost hear the click of glass lanterns and the sizzle of sausages on the grill. Saturday dawned clear and warm. I woke before the alarm. Hearts in my stomach, excitement and nerves twined. My best friend Marisol arrived early to help set up folding chairs on the balcony, a makeshift buffet table in the living room, strings of solar lanterns hanging from the ceiling hooks. By 10 a.m., my cousins began to trickle in. Aunt Georgina, with her signature brightly patterned apron, carried her infamous 7-layer salad. Uncle Sal, my namesake, brought his famous chili in a mocha-colored crock-pot. My brother Dylan arrived, lugging his guitar he'd promised to lead campfire songs. My college roommate Jack piled in with a double bass ukulele. Parents emerged from the elevator one by one, Dad sporting a new linen blazer, Mom in a sundress adorned with wildflowers. I greeted each with a hug so fierce I thought I might squeeze the wind out of them. They smiled back with equal fervor, the old banished echoes of cut ties nowhere to be found. By midday, the apartment was bursting with people. Plates loaded with chili, salad, homemade bread, and a fruit tart Mom had baked. My balcony looked like a fairy grove, paper lanterns swinging in a breeze, scented with lake air from the open windows. I poured lemonade into mason jars and led Dad and Mom to their seats of honor. Dad tapped his glass. To Jane for bringing us all home. The room cheered. I felt a glow beneath my skin. As lunch wound down, I took Dad aside. Thank you for coming, for everything. He squeezed my arm. Thank you for not giving up on us. Mom wept quietly, and I pulled her into my arms. Around us, cousins laughed. Children chased each other with water balloons, and Dylan strummed chords on his guitar in preparation for the evening sing-along. That night, as the sun set in fiery pink and orange hues, we gathered on the balcony for the campfire. I skipped stones across the rooftop's shallow fountain, my nod to the lake house tradition, and Uncle Sal lit the tiki torches. Dylan began to play Little Wonders, his fingers dancing over the strings. We sang along, "Don't you ever let it get you down. It's little wonders that make life big." I looked around at the faces glowing in lantern light. Mom's serene smile, Dad's proud nod, my cousins lost in singing, friends beaming. My childhood lake house had been replaced by a skyscraper loft, but the magic remained the same. The laughter, the shared stories, the warmth of being together. Later, as the embers cooled, Dad pulled me aside. We stood away from the group, quiet voices rising above the last strums of the guitar. He exhaled. "I owe you an apology. A real one, not that letter nonsense. I was scared and I reacted poorly. But I've learned that you're your own person, with your own life, and that life is beautiful." He paused, voice thick. "I'm proud of you, and I'll never push you away again." I felt tears gather. "Thank you, Dad." He hugged me tight. "I love you, kiddo. I love you too." The next morning, I woke to my phone beeping with photos from the night before. Dad's goofy face smudged with marshmallow. Mom's hands wrapped around hers. Cousins posing with their cards and prints as prizes from our impromptu art raffle. I smiled, heartful. I wrote in my journal, "Today we mended broken ties with kind words, open hearts, and the courage to speak our truths." Family is never perfect, but if we're willing to show up, even when it scares us, we can rebuild anything. I closed the journal and looked out at the city skyline, the memory of that letter still there, but softened by the warmth of reconciliation. Life would bring more challenges, reunions to come, new jobs, fresh adventures, but now I knew our ties were stronger than any fear. We'd found our way back, one simple letter, one brave invitation, and a whole lot of love at a potluck table. And as I sipped my morning coffee, I felt ready for whatever tomorrow might bring, because this time I was never coming home alone.